Hi y'all, this is Cathy King from the Sustainable Organizer, and I'm basically going to chat about the National Clean Out Your Food Pantry month that we're in. The good news is we have 28 days to clean out our pantry. The bad news is you may not want to do that. The good news is if we're stuck inside with winter weather, now would be a good time to approach your pantry. One of the suggestions I would have for you is that you should probably first start by making a list of all the places that you store food in your house. I can tell you that this behind me is basically where I store my canned goods. I have a separate space for my pasta and my sauce, and I have a separate space for my additional baking goods or my spices. I have a separate space where chips and crackers go. So every one of those places to me is considered pantry. My food pantry that I was going to have in my home turned into, as you know, my coffee and wine room instead of a food pantry. So I have basically moved around my cabinet so that I have all of my goods in one place in my kitchen in one form or another. I don't have another place where food is stored. I can tell you I learned from actually going downstairs and finding 2 bottles of ketchup that we had bought from BJ's for a party and had put down there and totally forgot about it. And it was 3 years later that we actually kind of found them to figure out, like, oh my God, they're way past the date. So I think that having something pulled together that basically addresses all of the food in your house, all of the consumables, all of the stuff that will be used or not used is a great idea. And this would be a good time to put that together and to address it. Because if you bulk buy, like we had bulk buy when both the boys were home, and now we have less of a chance of doing that because we really don't eat that much just for the couple of us. The other thing is spices that you only use once. So you tried a recipe, you made the product, you have the spice, and now you have leftovers and they sit for years. I can tell you that the general guideline is that ground spices have a potency of 3 to 4 years, and that leaf spices have a potency of 1 to 2 years. If it's not clearly marked on the bottle, you might consider using a label like this and date it like that, so that you know when that product should be used up by, when is the best use date. I can tell you, and I am confessing at this point, that I found this spicy hot taco stuff, and look at the date, 2013. That's because those spice packages were right next to the cookbooks and just never got turned and looked at. This one for fajitas, 2014. So shame on me. I should have picked that up in my last pantry look around. But now I've kind of gone through all of my cabinets and looked at, am I really going to use it? Is it part of the way I cook? Do I not do that or do that anymore? And decided to move those things out. Those will go to the trash because they're not good and usable for the food pantry. For cans that you're going to donate, make sure you check the dates. And if you don't use them by their best use date, they may still be usable for the food pantry. So, but you need to check with the local guidelines for that. And one of the things is if the dates are close, flag them with a label or mark them with a Sharpie so that you know that those are the first cans that you should use and that they should be in the forward part of your food pantry, wherever you happen to store your food pantry stuff. So how do you approach the process? The easiest way to do it, and I guess the most thorough, is to empty the shelves. These shelves have all been emptied at one point or another. over the last couple of days, and then reshelved with only the items that I knew I had a plan to use or plan to cook. But it also meant to me that I need to do something like use these peas and carrots that I bought when there was nothing left in the freezer at Stop and Shop. I bought the canned food to make a chicken pot pie. So chicken pot pie is going to be on my list of things that I need to make to use those up before they outdate. So please donate the products that you don't like, you don't use, that aren't open, that aren't excessively old, because there are other people that could use them. One of the books that I read for my organizing, by Tracy McCubbins, she said, do you shop with one intention, but cook with another? Well, how many of us are guilty of that? Where you shop thinking that you're going to be one of these cooks that cooks, I don't know, different food than you normally eat. You buy the products, but you don't use them. Those may be the donatable items. So once you've pared down everything, pulled the dates, cleaned the shelves, you can put everything back and know that in your calendar, I'll send a reminder and do a reminder next year that February is National Clean Out Your Pantry Day. One of the few thoughts that I had is that now might be a good time to edit cookbooks too, because I too am guilty of, I've held on to several cookbooks that even in the last 2 years I haven't used. So maybe I need to send those off to somebody that can make better use of them. And that maybe I need to use up some of the food that might be close this year, might be expiring in this year, and make a unique meal. Marie Kondo says just make kind of what's called a junk soup, where you just grab everything and try to make something new and creative to consume it rather than waste it. So I think that at this point, I hope that you've been inspired to look at your pantry and to take care of the outdated stuff, and also to not give yourself guilt over what you have to donate. Think of it as doing something that's good, that you are freeing up room to do the things that you need to do, and giving somebody else the chance to have maybe a different meal that you might have thought about, and to think about what does need to be replaced, what in your pantry could be upgraded when you have that new room, without overbuying with the assumption that you're going to change the way you cook. You know, like there are lots of people that are doing new diets or new ways of eating and new ways of cooking. And I think that you have to make room to get rid of your old ways before you can make room for the new ways. So I hope that you have found this informative, and that if you need any help with taking care of your pantry, that you'll think of me as the sustainable organizer helping you. And if you do need extra help, by all means, look me up. I'm available. Take care.